Good morning. It's Wednesday, everybody. I think most everyone joining us today has now started school in whatever form it is taking, whether that's remote, in-person, hybrid. We hope you're doing well and staying safe. We have, Dion, everyone, really, really well. Dr. Dion, I like to give her a hard time, but she's one of the very best that we have at Canvas, hands down. And she's let me know that this might be the best session. And we've had some killer ones. This might be the best one we've ever done. So I hope you're ready. If you're just joining us, Dr. Dion Johnson, we have another special guest, Dr. Kristy, as well. And then we've got Laurie and Kimberly, who always do a fantastic job. I am going to hand it over to Dion to be able to make the formal introductions. Tell us who you are, where you're from, in the comments as always, and we'll look forward to your questions. Thanks, everybody. Dion.
Thanks, Mark. I am really happy to be here today with some of my very best friends, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen so you can see a little bit about the people that are joining our session today. So our session today is on humanizing learning, but before we get too deep, there's a little background slide about myself. Mark, you always do a great job introducing me, so I don't feel like I need any additional introduction. But Kristy, I've known, I should have done the math, but I feel like it's probably been 10 or 15 years. We've known each other for a while, and we met up at Utah State when we were both associated there. Kristy has stuck around, Dr. Kristy, and she has been in education and corporate training for over 20 years. She also has her PhD in instructional technology and learning sciences from Utah State, her MED from the same institution, and on a personal level, I have seen her just radiate as she is a mom and a grandmother. She loves spending time outdoors. And one of my favorite stories about you, Kristy, is you sharing with me how much your sons love rock climbing. And I was just so inspired at how you just encourage them and excel and to be their best selves. Also four-wheeling and backpacking. So that's a little bit about Kristy. Do you want to add anything, Kristy?
No, but I'm happy to be here.
We're super happy that you're joining us today. Thank you. And Laurie, I first met Laurie when she was a contractor for Instructure. And when we had a full-time opening, I remember pleading with my manager at the time, can we please get Laurie to join Instructure full-time? She's such a talented designer and just a great person. And I so appreciate what she brings to the table. She's a former teacher, she's been an e-learning coordinator, instructional tech coach, and instructional designer, and she really just supports all type of educators, whether they're K-12, higher ed. She's just a rock star. She's passionate about combining good design with pedagogy and helping others in harmony in a digital environment, and that shines through with all of the work that you do. Laurie, thanks for being here. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, thank you, Dion. I'm glad to be here too. Thanks.
And Kimberly is one of our newer hires. She's been with Instructure for about 6 months or so, and she just hit the ground running. I felt like there wasn't any hardly lifting at all in helping her. She's brought a lot of value to our team and has a higher ed background. She has her master's in instructional technology. She's been an instructional design coordinator, e-learning coordinator, college instructor, and high school teacher. So it's kind of nice that she spans both the higher ed and the K-12 realm. She enjoys creating, shopping, thrifting, decorating, traveling, and spending time with her hubs and daughter. I would add also your dog, because your dog's adorable and you're so patient with that big ball of fluff. I remember your story when he hopped in the bathtub and then landed on your bed moments after. And that one, just your ability to laugh at all situations just makes you an enjoyable person, and we love having you on the team.
Oh, thanks, Dion. The little fur ball's right under my feet right now. That's where she lives. So I'm going to kick us off and get started. If you'll go to the next slide. Let's start by thinking about our favorite teacher. It may be a teacher from elementary school, high school, college, or even a professional development experience. And think about what made that person your favorite teacher. It's probably the way that they made you feel. Usually our favorite teacher gives us a sense of security, a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. I think back to one of my favorite teachers at the University of Southern Mississippi, Dr. Steve Ewan. Shout out to him. He's kind of a instructional design celebrity himself. But he always made me laugh. He'd stand up in front of class and jump up and down with just such passion and excitement about what he was teaching that day. And so if you go to the next slide, you'll see a quote from Dr. Maya Angelou, and it says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that human connection and how you can add it to your courses in Canvas, why it's important, and the tools to support you in using those things in your class.
Speaking of human connection, I want to interject right there. And you have some of your friends from Kern County that are showing up today. Kimberly will support you. And also because I lived in Hawaii, I just want to say hi to Kristy Haleakala Martinez from Hawaii. So welcome. There's quite a few people that are already joining.
Awesome. Hi, Christine. Good to see y'all here. Great group of people there in Kern County. So let's talk about your course. Sometimes it can feel like this, right? A little bit robotic. You know, you have the things in your Canvas course, read this, watch this, do this. You have your availability dates, your prerequisites, your module requirements. You may even have a lot of customized graphics, fun activities, pages full of tech tools. Let's say you're doing all the fancy things, but still sometimes that personal connection can be missing. So we're going to dive into different ways to humanize learning, ways that we can intentionally add that human aspect to our courses. And I guarantee you, if you do these things, you'll be the favorite teacher amongst your students. So Dion's going to take it from here and share with us three simple ways that we can add that human connection. And the rest of us will kind of chime in and support throughout the presentation here.
Thanks so much, Kim. The first one is your instructor presence. And I think it's really important to bring yourself in all of your authenticity and vulnerability. If you hear those two words, you'll know I'm a Brene Brown fan. So I threw one of her quotes on here, which is, "Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are." And I think this session is the perfect example of that, because we want to be authentically who we are, but we also want to be our best selves as we come to these sessions or facilitating an online class. And I guess I'll just share that the team of four that met about an hour and a half ago, and we were all good to go. And I said, but I need to wrap up and I need to make sure I get my hair done and put on a little bit of mascara because I'm going to be going live. And I think that's exactly what we need to do when we're facilitating these online courses, is you do want to bring your best self. You want to feel confident, but you also don't want to get so overworked with perfection that you forget that what you're bringing is adding value. And I try to remember that even if I show up at 80%, that's better than me showing up at 0%. So let's talk about how that translates into the online world. So the first one is to use video and be yourself. And I remember 100% the first video that I was recording. And I was so stressed because I didn't have a great mic. I didn't have great light. Still on both of those, I'm just using the mic from my computer and I'm just using the light that's in my room. And I'm sure I could potentially look better. But if you get overwhelmed in all of those details and feel like you need to have a green screen and a ring light and the right microphone and the right editing software, I think it becomes so overwhelming to create videos that we choose to not create a video at all. And through that experience, and then also Mark's support with these Canvas Live sessions, I've had to kind of overcome that and feel and just get to the point where whatever I share is hopefully going to help other people. And also it's going to model more appropriate expectations. So if I hosted this live session and then I asked Mark to send me the recording so that I could edit out any of my ums or maybe you fix the lighting, it would be too overwhelming and I wouldn't actually upload any video. So I share that in hopes that you'll also bring your authentic selves and just do a one and done type recording. Kim, I know you had something that you wanted to share along those same lines.
Yeah, that's a great point you make, Dion, and it reminds me of a good friend of mine. Amy Smith is actually the girl that you see on your screen. This is an example of a video that she had for one of her classes, but I remember that the students would watch her in her pregnancy, and then she ended up having the baby and went home with the baby, and she would record videos for her students holding her newborn, and the students just loved it. And so it was hard for her to make time as a mom to step away. So she just held the baby and would talk to the students just like she would standing in front of the classroom, but the students absolutely loved it. And another example, a friend of mine, Dr. Justin Williamson, I remember a video of him, the band outside of his office window started playing in practice, and he could have clipped that out and felt like it wasn't good enough or whatever, but he just gave a shout out to the band and kept talking, and it was one of my favorites of him. So that authentic self just really shines through to the students, and they love it. They love seeing you be real.
Thanks for that. And I just saw a note by Shara, that she loves that. One and done, don't get caught up in the perfection of the video. And hello, Shara. So nice to see you and nice that you're joining us today. She and I go way back with Instructure Contractor Days, so fun to have her here. Kristy, I know you've used videos, and I have a couple of those even pulled up. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you've used videos effectively?
Yeah, I love to use videos. And one of my favorite things is that they're reusable, right? So you can reuse them from one class to the next, 1 year to the next, whatever you're doing. And if, you know, for my students, they get to see my hair change every single week from different videos, as you can see here. And, you know, it's so great to just be authentic in those videos. And I think this is a really good humanizing thing you can do, is just be yourself. Don't worry about mistakes you make. Don't worry about anything that you do in there. Try and keep them as short as you can, but you can use those. I love to use them as a welcome video, of course. Welcome, to my class, and kind of give them some of the expectations, but you can use those in discussion boards as well to create that kind of a really kind of fun, here, peek into my world environment.
I love that, Kristy. I progressed too far past my slide deck. Whoa, that's not what I want. Present. Yeah, so we can do a welcome message with videos. A virtual tour of the course is super helpful if students are brand new to an online world. And also knowing that every teacher uses Canvas a little bit differently. It's one of the blessings, and I think sometimes a little bit of the curse, because it is that blank canvas. And how do you turn that blank canvas course into a masterpiece, if we're going to bring that art analogy into it? And every teacher is going to use it different. So sometimes that virtual tour of your course is super helpful. I've seen other educators have weekly announcements. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing for the week. And that's another really solid way to use videos. You can have bumper videos where you introduce a module or you wrap up a module, teach a concept, tell a story, utilize video discussions, as you mentioned, Kristy. So there's lots of ways that you can have a video included and be yourself. And I love Eddie's comment right here. He says, think about what you're comfortable watching when learning something. As creators, producing videos at home is no longer about production quality. Be yourself and use the tech that you have. That's what we're doing here today. Some key elements to help you create great videos. You already mentioned, Kristy, that they should be brief. 3 to 5 minutes is ideal. Any more than that, and you're really going to probably lose your students. Let your personality shine. Keep the tone conversational. You don't want to come across super stuffy and unapproachable. So that's the 4th bullet point, is we want to be approachable, and also don't expect perfection from yourself or from your students or from recording the video. So that was the first one, to bring your authentic self. The second way that you can really bring value and humanize your online course is that teacher to student connection. And somebody shared this piece of advice for me, which was, you don't get the best of me until you invest in me. And that quote has stuck with me for a long time. And I think about it on my own end, that I need to be cautious of not investing myself too heavily when people aren't investing in me. But I also think about it from the teacher to student or the manager to direct report, that it's important that we invest in our students. It's important that we invest in our coworkers. And when we do, then we're going to get the best. So Kim, I think this is one that you're prepared to talk about. With student surveys, will you share a little bit about how you've used those before?
Sure. You can create a survey under your quizzes button in Canvas, and you can have it be a graded survey or an ungraded survey. But the great thing about surveys is there's no right or wrong answer. So you could use this as like a weekly check-in for your students. We know that online or learning period has shifted online quite rapidly, and this is sometimes a really hard transition for teachers and students. So this can be a private area where you ask your students the question and they reply, and only you see it as the teacher, to get a pulse of how your students are feeling and how you might need to support your students along the way throughout the semester. So you see here on this quiz, it might be a little hard to see, but this says for the question, share your win for the week. It's just a way for students to think about what went well, what they need help with. Maybe they get comfortable in the sharing of private with the teacher, where they can say, I'm having a hard time in this area. So it's kind of like a mental health check-in too, where students can drop in and ask questions along the way. So you could create this as an assignment as well, and it would be private. I've linked a sample survey that's available in Canvas Commons. If you want to, we'll share the slide deck out, and it might give you a head start of what types of questions you could ask in a survey. The great thing also is that if you ask questions in an essay style, students can reply with audio and video as well. So that's a great option.
I also want you to talk a little bit about this picture.
So this is an example of a second grade ELA course that was created for Kern County Superintendent of Schools. This was a collaboration effort between them and Novak Education Consulting, Katie Novak. And so what we did is we took the course content and then kind of teased it out and added elements. So you see the pages of the live instruction. They're unpublished right now. So after the students meet synchronously with their teacher, that recording could be placed there, and then you could publish that page. But also notice there's a weekly check-in. It's created as an assignment, but this could be a survey. And this is just to ask students how they're feeling that day. Some social emotional pieces built into the module for each day. And then I think down below, it's hard for me to see it on my screen, but Tuesday, you see that week 1 check-in. Tell me how yesterday went. How did you feel about our live Zoom session or this book that you read, A Bad Case of Stripes? So just checking in with the students each day.
I love that. And I also love that this is focused towards the younger learners, and you can see there's nice usage of some emojis to help them quickly get to where they need to get. I think this was for a second grade class. Is that right, Kim?
That's right.
Okay, you already mentioned this a little bit, but let's talk about personalized feedback from both the teacher and the student perspective, and how there can be that type of conversation going back and forth in an asynchronous world. Kim, do you want to jump on and talk about that grading area of a course?
Sure. So one important thing is if you do something like the weekly check-in, it's important as the teacher that you don't not reply. You know, it's important that if students are opening up to you, that you give some type of feedback. Even if it's not a check-in, though, let's say that this was a research paper for a higher ed class. You always want to give personalized feedback to your students in the SpeakWriter area. And the great thing is you can add audio and video comments here. You can do it per question. So you see the red circle there at the bottom of the question, or you can give feedback per assignment in the main SpeakWriter area. But sometimes as teachers, we just get so, we have a lot going on. We're busy, so it's easy to get in a rush and give a blanket statement like "great job" to every student. But if you can personalize it and use the student's name, or record a video on the fly and show your emotion, like, man, that was a great assignment, or work a little bit harder on this second paragraph, your emotion and your human element comes out a little bit more. So just talk to the students like you would in the classroom.
The other thing I mentioned in the blog article that coordinates with this Canvas Live session is if you are finding yourself giving the same feedback time and time again, there is the option to use, I call them canned responses, but that's not what it's called in Canvas. Let me get the exact lingo. And then you'll want to find this in the community as well. So it's free form comments, and then you can save those for reuse. And the advantage to that and how that brings human element into the course is that that's going to save you time so that you can bring more of a human element and type up some personalized comments or record a audio or video response. I love that, Kim, you shared with me earlier that as a result of that personalized feedback and leaving notes in the column, I don't want to steal your thunder, but the basketball, I want you to maybe mention that on this slide.
Yeah. When you're in your grade book, if you click the little drop down beside the word view right there, you'll be able to view your notes column. And this is a column that is private just for you. Only you as the teacher can see this column. And so if a student shares with you, let's say in the first week discussion, they say, hey, I play basketball, I'm number 22. Well, you can take a note here. And then if they send you an email that says, I'm having a hard time, we had whatever event happened at my house, or this is my certain situation, you can leave a note here just to trigger your brain. But I know for me as a teacher, when I would make notes about students, when I was teaching fully online and I never saw the students, it allowed me to have that personal connection. So if I saw, oh, this student in my class plays basketball, I was more likely to go to the basketball game and watch that semester, rather than just not having those things at the forefront of my mind. So I love the notes column just to help me remember as a teacher who these students are and their real world challenges that they're facing.
I love that, Kimberly. One of the other tricks you shared with me, and this seems like a good time to just turn this on so you can kind of have a before and after, is you showed me how you can turn on captions for these type of sessions. So underneath, I hope, yep, everybody can see that. So I can select the text position, whether I want top or bottom and what size I want. And after that set, all I have to do is hit captions, and then it's going to start checking how well I enunciate is what I really feel like that's doing. It's fun to do this with you, Kimberly, because your Mississippi accent sometimes picks up on different nuances of your words.
Yeah, it doesn't like me sometimes, but I love this. I remember as a kid, my sister, she's an elementary teacher, and she would bring these books home. Well, actually, when my daughter was young, she would bring books in the little tape player where you would listen to the book and read along with the words. And that's what the captions, even though I can hear your sound okay, it helps me to see the words as well. So I love the captions turned on. This works with Google Slides and Presentation View, though. That's how you would get that option there.
Perfect. Thanks, Kim. The next one I wanted to talk about is the option to message students who, and this might be one of my favorite tricks, especially because I feel like I was able to teach Kristy something as a result of this presentation.
I know. I love this. See, we're all learning. We're all learning today.
Because from the gradebook, you can message students who, and then you can see the screenshot right here. So I can message students who haven't submitted, or it hasn't been graded, or if they scored low, or if they scored really high. It will automatically send that message to your students. And it almost does, well, it acts as a BCC. So it's going to be sent to all of those students, but students won't know who else was involved in that email. So Kristy, do you want to talk a little bit about how this can potentially change the way you've been doing things?
Yeah, I mean, I always try and message students who miss an assignment just to see if everything's fine. And so I used to go into the grade book and, have to go through every single one and then message them individually. And depending on how many students that was, it could take some time. And this would be so easy to say, students who are late on an assignment, just send them a quick message, make sure they're fine, see if they need any help. And it's such a good check-in for those students to let them know, hey, my instructor is watching. She cares about me. She's there if I need her, and helps spur them to, make sure they get their next assignments done on time because they know you're watching. But this is such a great way to do it, and we save so much time.
The next one is talking about office hours or synchronous meetings, and that you can support those students one-on-one. You can use Scheduler within Canvas. You can use your favorite, like Big Blue Button or Zoom or whatever your institution is currently supporting. And as I was thinking about that and some of the effective either meetings that I've had or office hours or seeing recordings, it reminded me of how important it is to be authentic again and to record maybe out in your backyard. Or we have a fairly new CEO, and one of his first introduction videos, he was out in his backyard, and it just really brought that element of his humanness and being a person. I've seen other people record from their kitchen table. The other fun thing that you can do is change your background. So if you're a huge Star Wars fan, or I think it was on May the 4th, right? May the 4th be with you, that people were using Star Wars background. Or I've seen people have their favorite sitcom background, whether it's Parks and Rec, or I've seen some from The Office. And it's just this fun way to connect with people and find out what their hobbies are and what they like to do. I know, Kristy, this is something that you use often, your office hours and synchronous meetings. Do you want to talk about any strategies that have worked well over another?
Well, I really like to meet with my students, especially at the beginning of a semester. I like to know what their goals are, and I like them to understand how the class can help them. And I feel like doing those one-on-one meetings right in the beginning sets them up for success in so many ways, helps them to understand, what value this course has and why it can help them in the future, which I hope it can do for all of our students, of course, but also helps them to understand that if they need to come to me, they can. We now have a personal relationship almost because we've had this one-on-one meeting. And I do find that later in my session, in the course, if I've met with those students, then, they are more likely to champion everything and changes that we make in the course because they feel like I'm on their side. And so I love those meetings. They do take time in the beginning, but I think they are very effective in helping our students.
Okay, thank you, Kristy. And Mark, if you see any comments that are coming in that you want to interject, feel free. And anybody that's watching live, if you have any questions, go ahead and pop those in the comment area. And Mark's really good about interrupting when you have something that you want to ask us.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Absolutely. All right, the third bullet point that we wanted to talk about is the student collaboration piece, because you're bringing your authentic self, you're making sure that you're engaged with your students in large group, small group, or one-on-one. And then to add another layer of humanness to your course is to make sure that you create that opportunity for students to collaborate. And I love this quote about collaboration, that collaboration is not about gluing together existing egos. It's about the ideas that never existed until after everyone entered the room. Kristy, I feel like some of the thoughts that you shared with us as we've been preparing for this session, I know that you absolutely rock that student-to-student interaction. So will you just present and talk a little bit about how discussions and working with groups, I'll run through the slide deck and let you kind of lead this session.
Yeah, I really do try as often as I can in my classes to get students together. And I like the way they build on each other's knowledge and their own experience, but also how they help clarify for each other some things that are going on in the courses. So anytime I can do that, I do it. It's hard online, and teachers sometimes get scared about dividing their students into groups. But you can use groups for so many different things. My favorite right now is doing reading groups. So assigning groups that then will get together and discuss the readings that you have. I usually give them a few points to discuss, or, to get it started, but they learn so much more, and they help, it really helps cement that learning. And I think if you go to the next slide, Dion, we talk about, students, how they learn from each other, but they also gain some really good soft skills. It's one of those hard things to teach in a course, and especially an online course. But when they're working as groups, they have to learn how to communicate and how to get along. And I do find that when I do group work, students get more engaged. Students will do more for someone else than sometimes they will do for themselves. They never want to let their groups down. And so it's a really great way to get students engaged. And you do have problems every once in a while, and you as a teacher have to step in. But the gain that you get back for the few times that you have a problem, I think is definitely worth it. So go to that next slide. There's some things that I've learned about group work, and especially online. The first thing, groups of about 4 to 6 seem to work best. If you get smaller than 4, it becomes, almost too small, usually depending on the project or what you're having them do. But 4 to 6 works best. If you get too big, then you also get people who can't get involved. So that just seems to work well. I have Canvas automatically create my groups. I like them to be random because I like to tell my students they were random. You can do it however you'd like, but within Canvas, then it will choose the groups, and also if you want, can choose a leader. So I learned early that you have to show your students where those group assignments are in Canvas so that they can see what group they're in. It's easy once they understand where it's at, but if you don't tell them, then they're wondering who their group is. I also learned that you have to be available to answer questions quickly. When you're doing group work, if your students are working on something, it's hard for them to get together remotely. And so they don't have a lot of time to get things taken care of. If they have questions, then they really need those questions answered as quickly as possible. So I try really hard to answer any emails or texts that I get from them. If you're worried about group projects and how students are doing, I love to utilize a self-evaluation. And I think we can show one of those. We have one here that I've used before. I love to ask, to have the students evaluate themselves and give themselves points for how well they worked in their group. And here's an example of one that I used in one of my courses. Did you spend the time helping with the initial analysis or whatever it is that you're doing? Did you follow up quickly with any communications? These are just things that I let them consider in evaluating themselves. And what I have found is that they might evaluate themselves poorly the first time, maybe the first week that you're doing a self-evaluation, but never have I had them evaluate themselves poorly the second time. The first time they may say, I could do better, but they always do better when they're self-evaluating. So I love to use these, and I think it gives you good insight into what's going on within the group so that you can help things along if you need to. And then the last point I think that's here on the slide, give the group time to gel and get organized. If you're in a classroom and you divide students up, they're all right there. They can get to know each other and talk about when they're already meeting. But especially in an asynchronous class, if your students are trying to figure out how to meet and when to meet and how to collaborate and how to make those things work, and they have an assignment that is due, really quickly, it puts a lot of pressure on those group assignments, and students start to rebel against, you know, the deadlines there. I always try and give them just a little time to get those to gel before I give them a big assignment. And then it just seems to work so much better. And then I don't change the groups often in an online setting, especially because of this time that it takes to get, you know, to get those teams and those groups to work well together and be able to figure out who's doing what and who has strengths and those types of things. It's a little bit different and a little bit harder to do that at a distance. So I love using groups, and these are some of the things that I do, and I've been very successful with those in the past.
Thanks for that, Kristy. I noticed a comment in the chat that somebody said, there's no way I'm going to remember all of this. So I wanted to assure you, one, we're going to make this slide deck available. Two, when the recording has been processed, then that will be shared out through social media as well. And then the last thing is there is a blog article that we're just waiting for a little technical glitch, but it's got all of it written down. And that kind of supports UDL, right? Whether you'd rather have this quick slide deck and look at it that way with screenshots, or maybe you'd like to skim and scan or read articles, or the recording will be available as well. So in summary, just wanted to give you, again, those top 3 things that you can do to humanize your learning experience. So make sure that you're present, that you're including videos, and that you're yourself. Make sure you connect with your students. You can privately check in with the students and provide that personalized feedback like we've referenced, and create opportunities for collaboration so that students can connect and learn from one another. And we do have a few more slides, so don't go away, because there's a little freebie, just like that seems to be something that instructional designers like to do, is give you something free. So stick around, because we're not quite done. But I love this quote, that when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. And obviously the connection there is for our students, that we don't want to fix the students, we want to create the environment where they can really bloom and flourish. And I just want to say a special shout out to Rosina, because she added some really great graphic elements and made this visual slide deck look really well. And the connection that I have to that, well, I should say there's these resources here, but the connection that I wanted to make to that visual element is that that's an important part of your online course. So hopefully your institution has made available a ready-made template. Those we've shared out in other seminars and webinars, so you've probably seen that. You can also look for templates in Commons. We have some resources that are available from the ID department. We've got some homepages that have been created. And today we have a new nuance to our design templates that is launching today. So it's a kind of a segue for our templates. And Laurie, you're here to talk about that, because you've been one of the brainchilds behind this launch.
Thank you, Dion. I'm super excited about this launch today. So, and our little giveaway. So a super easy way to really boost authentic presence in your course is to add visuals and graphics. Visual elements can really bring that added touch of personalization. The instructional design team is launching today a new set of graphic asset templates to supplement your course template or your course that you're working in, your course design. And these are available to view at the ready-made template suite, and the link is there. But for everyone out there in the Canvas world today, we have something that we're going to give away to you so you can instantly personalize your course today. Deanne, you want to go to the next slide, and I'll show you some images that you can download and customize. So providing a kind of a personalized or customized teacher button somewhere on your page, whether it's your home page or a page about your teacher, is a really nice kind of added bonus for your students to see a professional looking and really nice image of yourself. So you can actually download this entire slide deck of samples and just replace the image that you see there and replace the text if you want to, and then upload it right into your course. So you have some personalized and customizable different buttons there that that are free to use for you today. And you can get those if you choose. There's a link here, the Design Asset Package Templates to personalize your Canvas courses. another blog to read today about the design asset packages, and the link and all the instructions and everything that you need on that blog post through that link there. So I hope you enjoy.
Laurie. And we have a couple of other people on the ID team that weren't here, probably because we don't need the whole team here. But I just wanted to say how much I appreciate all the work that has gone into not only that design asset package template and getting that ready to launch, but the ready-made template refresh. And just there's so much work that has come out of this team in the last 6 months, really since COVID kind of hit. And I just love you guys. Thank you. All right. We have some time for questions. Mark, I don't know if any came in.
So we've had a lot of great comments, Dion. We've got Kristy, our friend from Hawaii, who's saying, love the idea. I think this is based off of what Kristy was saying earlier, giving students small assignments to do as a group to gel before the big group project, which I love. Lots of excellent thoughts in here and questions. Lorraine, our good friend from Penn State, said here a little bit earlier, message students who can be a great way to nudge students about meeting deadlines too. Message students who, if someone is not using that currently, drop everything except your baby, drop things unless they're humans, and go look at message students who, because it is incredible. Okay, what is Andre? Andre's our good friend from down in Argentina who joins us regularly. What do you think about student books like Word, PDF, HTML5? Interesting. What are you wanting to know, Andre? Maybe shoot me a note and we can talk about it. If there's any other questions, we're here for about 1 more minute, unless you got great questions, and then we're going to let these rock stars move on their way. Thanks for joining us as always, everybody. We're back again tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. with our partner Humanize, talking about online discussions. So with nothing else, Dion, do you want to wrap this thing up for us?
I think I did. I think I'm good.
She did it, and she was awesome. Everybody, thanks again for joining us. Lots of great comments. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Be back soon. See